Happy New Year's! I really hope that your year is starting off great. To start this channel off in the new year, I'm starting with a beautiful sunset scene over some water with some reefs in front of it. A lot of this is going to slow down and be real time so I can explain exactly what I'm doing, the colors that I'm using, and how I apply it all to the canvas. I'm going to try something a little bit different this year, and I'm gonna try and do real-time videos. If that's something that you like, hit the like button and maybe leave a comment down below just so I know I'm on the right phase and this is what you want. So grab your paintbrush and let's go paint. So I like to start all my paintings with a blocked in phase, which is pretty much what I'm going to go through in this video. And I'm going to try and explain as best I can what exactly I'm doing. Now, because if I don't tone my canvas, the reason I do a blocked in phase is to show myself how the colors interreact together and try to get the colors as close as possible to the final result. And that also shows me what the entire painting as a whole is going to eventually semi-look like. Now in the blocked in phase, I don't go into the details and everything might be a little off, and this is a great way to show me if everything is going to work together and how well all the colors are going to blend and look. So right now I start with the light. I started with the sun. This is where the sunset's going to be, and I put in that white, and it was just straight titanium white. And I always start with the light first and work my way out to the dark, only because I feel like maybe it's just a personal thing, everybody does their paintings differently, but when I start with the dark and go into the light, the dark tends to become darker when you add lighter on top of it, if that makes sense. So I start with the light and then work my way to the dark, so the dark isn't as dark as I hope that makes sense. So I started with the white. I put titanium white down, and then I've got my yellow that I put around the white because we want it to fade into the orange as the sunset. And this is what the final blocked in phase is gonna look like down here in the bottom right hand corner. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. And at each stage, because very important, I do my blocked in phase with acrylics. And the reason I do my blocked in phase with acrylics is because if anything doesn't work, I can change it within a few minutes. Even when I add in liquid or alkali medium that speeds up the drying time of oils, you still have to wait about 24 hours before you can really adjust something. So that's why I do it with acrylics, because if you need to adjust something, it is super easy to do that in acrylics. Right now, to create this sunset, I've already got my white and yellow down, and all I did was mix my red and my yellow to create this orange. I like to keep my palette as simple as possible so I don't get too overwhelmed with a variety of colors that I have to now figure out which one I want to use. So that's all I'm doing, and the deeper the orange goes, the more red I put into it. If you're still learning how to mix colors, just get a piece of paper and test out all the different ways you can mix different colors to get different things, and it'll make painting so much easier when you go on to do a painting like this. Every once in a while you'll see me right here. I bring in my mop brush and I just fan out the edges just a little bit. Now remember, this is the blocked in phase. It's in acrylics. I'm going to be covering all of this with oils, My main focus here is just to scrub color onto the canvas. So I'm using a really cheap brush. It does not matter to me, and I'm just going in and softening the edges just a little bit with this mop brush. And now here I'm adjusting the color a little bit more. I want the yellow to be brighter, and because this is acrylics and I watered them down quite a bit, so this is more of like a wash. I'm going in and I'm doing a second layer, and I'm doing that so I can adjust the colors a little bit, because it right now with this first layer the yellow wasn't as bright as I wanted it to be. The orange isn't as deep as I would like it. There's not a very big transition. So I want to adjust it a little bit more. So in just the sky area, I want your eye to just focus on the sun, and I would like that sun to be really intense, because I would like the main focus of this to be the sun. I'm just going in and I'm using that mop brush still. And the other brush that I'm using is just a 1-inch flat brush, just to get the color down on the canvas. So here you can tell I am darkening the area just right around the sun, right here on the bottom. And what that is going to do is the darker area around the source of the lighter area, which is the sun, it's automatically going to make that sun more intense. And it's just going to happen naturally because you have that contrast. So if you're looking to make something more intense, like a sun shining through some trees, or reflection on a lake, or the sun behind an eclipse, something that has a bright, intense color. You can even do it if you want a person to stand out in a painting. You can make them a different contrast to the surrounding area right behind them. Make the values very different, and it will help that lighter color to seem brighter. It's a little trick. So if you're wondering how people get, an intense glow, that's how they do it. Right here on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice a little black nozzle. And what I do when I work with acrylics to make them feel more like oils, I take water from just a regular mister bottle and I spray down the canvas, because it keeps the acrylics wet for as long as I want if I just keep adding water and allow them to get wet. By doing that, it allows me to blend the colors a lot easier. So every once in a while, I just will grab my mister bottle that I always keep next to me when I work with acrylics, and I'll just mist down all of my paints to keep them wet on the palette, and I'll spray down my canvas to keep the paint that's on my canvas wet for as long as I need it to be. I'm going to speed up the rest of the sky part just a little. It's only going to be on 2x, which just means it's just double the amount of time that I'll speed it up so you can still see my technique, my brush strokes, everything like that. But it's going to be the same technique over and over. I'm going to lay down some paint where I want it to be, and then come in with the mop brush and smooth it out, spray it with some water to keep it wet. So that's all I'm going to do to finish out the sky. And when we move on to the mountains and the water, I'll slow it down again and I'll explain what I'm going to be doing in that section. Okay, so now that we have a rough idea of what our sky is going to look like, I'm going to start to move on to the mountains in the background, or the tree line. I guess it's actually a tree line. Um, but right now I'm just doing a really rough sketch, and it's a mix between raw umber and a little bit of ultramarine blue. I think there might be a little bit more of ultramarine blue in it just because I want it to give a different feel, because the sun and the sky is so intense and so orange and warm that I want to add a little bit of cool to this. So I added a little bit more of ultramarine blue into my raw umber. So now that I have the basic sketch down for the tree line, I'm just going to fill it in really quickly. Okay, now onto the water. I love my water to have some phthalo green in it, so I just I just love that emerald-ish color that you can get from phthalo green. With almost all my water, I always add phthalo green and phthalo blue together. So that is what this is a mix of. And because you start in the distance, and the tree line is going to cast some shadow on this water right here in the background, I added a little bit of raw umber to that blue. And then the second line that I'm starting to do has quite a bit less of raw umber in it. And as we move forward, it's going to get less and less, and it's going to be a more saturated blue color. And right now, I'm really just trying to figure out where all the little waves are going to be, and that's what these lines right here are. They're going to be they're the shadow part of the wave that's coming over. So then we'll also go back in and we'll fill in the rest of it, which is going to be the top layer of the water, and the sun is going to be reflecting off of that. And when you paint such a bright, intense sun, another trick to get it to look more intense is any area around it isn't going to be that solid dark color. It kind of distorts it a little bit. It makes the glow around whatever object that is, it makes that object a little orange. So that's what I did with that tree line right there. That's why I put that little half circle there. And we're going to refine that more throughout this process. I'm just trying to right now get the reflection of the sun in the right spots. that I want them to be. And I'm starting to just add a little bit of the ripples with this color. Again, this is just the blocked in phase. I am not going to go into a ton of detail, but I do want it to somewhat look like what I want the final product to kind of show. So if that makes any sense, I don't want to have all the little tiny ripples. I don't want to spend hours doing this, because when I go back in with oils, I'm going to cover up all of my acrylic. So if I spend hours working on the tiny little details of all the ripples, I'm just going to go right back over that in oils and cover all that up. So it would be a waste of time. But the reason I still do this process is to get rid of that bright white canvas and to see all the colors, how they work together. And if I need to adjust something in the oil phase, I can adjust the colors slightly. So here is the top part of the water that I was talking about that is going to be reflecting the sky and the sun. And if you noticed, I've done the same thing with the reflection. Right in the center of the reflection that's coming down straight from the sun, there's that really bright spot right in the center of it, and then right on the outside of that is a darker orange before you get into a lighter color again as the surface of the water. The reason I did that was to make that reflection right there underneath the sun more intense. And like I said before, when you want something to be more intense, you want to put a darker color surrounding that bright spot. And I'm just going in and smoothing out my lines as well, because when I come in with my oils, they'll blend a lot easier if there's not really harsh lines that stop. And I don't think I'm going to fill in this entire thing. I think what I'm seeing is working, and I really like the colors that I'm starting to get down. So I think I'm gonna stop right here and just leave that little white area down there at the bottom. I don't need it to be all perfect. Thank you so much for watching. For all of you who stuck around to the end, because this is the very first video of the new year, I am doing 10% off. So if you go and visit tiffany'sfineart.com and you type in the code NEWYEAR20, your discount will be automatically applied for anything that you buy in my print shop.